Great. So VEDX stands for Virtual Education Exploration Solutions. All the co-founders came from international student recruitment and university backgrounds. And we got together, and one of the main reasons that we came together over this last 15 months has been primarily to increase access to international students for education. And one talk led to another, and we said let's do this. Let's partner with software companies out and collaborate and bring them together to get a solution for international students, domestic students, and just really promote virtual reality. We're in such an early adoption phase in terms of technology deployment and across the world, and it just seems like COVID has offered an opportunity to accelerate all of that. Our entire team is really driven by a mission, and we want to see the virtual space for education, not just the virtual space transform, but education itself and how it's delivered internationally. Most of us spent time recruiting for UK and US universities. And as you know, that it's a small market of international students that can afford to go to the university for 4 years, 3 years, or 4 years. And we see virtual reality as really being the disruptive space that education itself can be reformed. And I say reformed on purpose. I think that so many learners are left out every day in traditional education. And I think with virtual reality, it gives us a chance to actually engage them in spaces that just aren't available. And especially if they can't travel or move. And I loved the disability presentation about VR. And in one of those sessions, I want to talk more too about just the mobility issue of getting somewhere for an education or going to a place. I don't need to go over a lot of this. You guys are really aware of what's happening. But with all of the pieces coming together right now, the entire global market is expected to have a compound annual growth rate of 48%. And the GDP boost to world economies, we truly as a company are watching something amazing, and it's fun every day, and it's exciting to be a part of this space, because I think in the next 5 years, we really are going to see the disruption of education and hybrid models. We're seeing it in silos across the world. We're seeing it at universities studying it. We're seeing it in small spaces, but we as a company think that it's going to just take off in the next 5 years. One of our biggest drivers is that we want collaboration, and we sought to answer a few questions because we looked at Generation Alpha coming up. I don't know how much familiarity that you guys have had with that, looking at what's called Generation Alpha as learners. But this generation is going to expect to have a digital component to their education. They grew up with cell phones and tablets, and every part of their learning from the youngest age, even informal learning, has been with some sort of device. And augmented reality, extended reality, virtual reality, it will continue to just be a part of it. And I think that universities and higher education that embrace this and put it into their programs intentionally, looking to increase the outcomes, will be the ones that will excel in helping disrupt this entire industry. And as you all know from all the research, the anxiety is a big piece of the language learning component, but also as has been stated, that when you're in those virtual reality environments, learning, the research coming out about the effectiveness of the learning and the retention rate is phenomenal. I mean, some studies showing 85% more effective than any traditional learning when it's a proper hybrid model. Obviously, everything can't be done in VR. There's some things that, you got to pick up the book and read it. There's some things that are not necessarily set for VR, but then that's part of the disruption that VEDX is looking to be a part of. Got ahead of myself on that one there, but it adds also what we've learned over this last year with COVID, and it's been such an interesting space there, that online learning prior to COVID is, and it still is in the two-dimensional world, it really is only for a select group of people that can concentrate and learn that way. There's a lot of distractions, there's technology issues, and I'll talk a little bit about how we're addressing a few of those in one of our proof of concepts. Again, the outcomes we talked about, what we want to see at the end of our journey or during our journey is to just see learners engaging again and loving learning because of this new technology and transfer of information. One of the spaces, as far as what we're discussing as a company, is designing virtual spaces. These are happening all over, again, in silos, and what we are seeking to do, when you look at our webpage, what we're seeking to do is collaborate across a lot of partners. Scott from Immerse Me, we've been working closely with him in language and his software he'll talk about more, but reducing the anxiety, and it's just phenomenal. But what we needed to do was have a sandbox of our own. So not only did we start VEDX, but then we just recently dove into the Global XR Academy. So we started a spin-off company of VEDX to enroll students directly in a learning model, specifically around language and academic content. So students can enroll anywhere in the world and be a part of this new social space, this academy. And they'll only run into other students that are part of the academy, whether it's in a language course or in their country, or however we sort of, delineate the rules of social engagement there. So that Global XR Academy, what we've done is had our first enrolled class. We're working with the Panamanian government as a proof of concept. We just spent some time down there last week, getting all the students enrolled. We had our orientation in a physical space, made sure all the goggles were on kids' heads and they could interact in there. One of the challenges, obviously, across the world in international education is hardware, but also Wi-Fi. So in Panama, we partnered with the Tigo, the cell phone company, and deployed Wi-Fi hotspots that hook to their phone and their goggles, allowing the student to have greater access anywhere. I mean, some of the students were learning last week in their orientation from their car, right? So it's just super interesting. We're super excited. It's a 6-month proof of concept. We've enrolled 19 official university students and 6 professors in Panama to watch the study. And the objectives really are to reduce the cost of the government's language learning while doubling the amount of students that are receiving it. So, and like I said, with virtual reality, it's available because the government doesn't have to pay for the student to fly off to somewhere, do 6 months at a university or an academy, and then all the living expenses and everything that usually goes with that, families, all of that, we can now do it with virtual reality in this Global XR Academy. And it's really exciting for me. And I do think that one of the other objectives, of course, is what we're talking about, and that is language learning, effectiveness of the tools. So we actually have the students in a combination of language tools, one with Scott's company, who will present next, and that is primarily to reduce anxiety in the speaking, which is always a block for international students in learning English from our experience. Also, we are involved with 2 other companies, one for live synchronous English teaching in VR, combined with another company that does grammar and really focused on the grammar and the sentence structure. So bringing these 3 VR tools together in a social space for the Global XR Academy, we're excited to watch the outcomes. And over the next 6 months, we will be adding things to that and using it as a sandbox, and then hopefully having an enrollment every month that continues on globally with a reserved amount of spaces. Sorry, there's some of the pictures from last week in Panama. We got to meet with all the ministries, agriculture, tourism. Panama is really excited to be a part of this kind of technological evolution in Latin America. Latin America oftentimes gets left out of advances because everybody focuses on Asia. For VEDX, Latin America is first on our roadmap just because of access and some of the challenges. If we can solve the challenges in Latin America for virtual reality, we feel like at a global level, those lessons can be expanded everywhere. So as a lot of people are focused in Asia on their, or East Asia on their technology deployment in the commercial space, VEDX is truly focusing in on Central and Latin America as our first stop. These are some of the other partners we have. We have partnered with about 20 different software companies in this collaboration, using various pieces of their technology to build the Global XR Academy. Multiverse, what an amazing set of designers. They've taken game designers from the UK. They've designed a space. You guys were talking about motion sickness, and it's something that we've experienced when we've been working with students, is that motion sickness in VR. Multiverse has overcome that because their head developer is really sensitive to even riding in a car in the back seat, right? So he's imagine a motion sick person designing VR, and we've had no reports of motion sickness inside of Multiverse. So we're excited to see where that goes because they're focused on creating metaverses which can connect to other apps inside of VR. We're also partnered with Victory XR, which is going to be doing some really exciting stuff on the US market in terms of what they call, what the term is, loss of learning over this last year in COVID. So they're supplementing that learning in high schools. Super exciting there. I'm sure most of you have seen Engage as a space for creating those spaces for collaboration at a public and private level. VEDX is focused really on STEM technology and or STEM labs and learning. And then we have Immerse Me and Monly as a couple of our language partners that we're working closely with. And I think that's it. I think I stayed under 10 minutes, I hope. I didn't have that time, but any questions from the floor, or you can put them in chat. We're available. What I really want to point out is all of you are doing such interesting research, and as at VEDX, at our core, we want to just help deploy this new technology in education, and that's our mission. And so if any of you want to work on research projects, or as we grow the Global XR Academy, you know, feel free to get in contact with us. I hope in the future we can fund some of that research at your universities in a grant form, because it's just, we're all very passionate about what we're doing.
That's amazing. Thank you so much.